We're in conversation with Adar Poonawalla, the CEO of the Serum Institute of India. Thank you very much, Adar, for talking to Moneycontrol. We recently spoke to Sham Bishen of the World Economic Forum, and he said that we should be prepared for any form of pandemic or viruses going ahead. As we stand today, take us through the global health scenario. We recently had the Mpox outbreak, then we had HMPV, which caused a bit of a flutter. But currently, where are we in terms of global health? Where is India?
Well, firstly, nice to talk to you here in Davos. There have been a few discussions going on over here, especially with the backdrop, the news of the US withdrawing from funding the WHO.
Right.
And this is a very critical issue because, the World Health Organization is responsible for managing a lot of global health systems, maintaining standards that, countries and manufacturers, whether it's in vaccines or pharmaceuticals, have to adhere to be able to, offer vaccines and medicines to, the developing world countries, for instance. And so their activities shouldn't slow down and result in having, ramifications. And that's something that we've been discussing on how to tackle that. But generally speaking, Serum Institute has built one of the world's largest pandemic facilities in Pune. So, God forbid there's another pandemic or there's any other outbreaks, we're very well poised to respond very rapidly to be able to roll out, a lot of vaccines. Having said that, we've been working on a lot of the mosquito-borne viruses, like you've got your chikungunya, dengue, malaria vaccine that we've launched. We'll be launching some of these other vaccines over the next 2 years because with what's happening with climate change and development of construction in a lot of the developing world countries, you see a lot more of the mosquito-borne viruses spreading, whether it's yellow fever, chikungunya, dengue, malaria, all of that. So we're working, towards tackling those issues now.
These new vaccines that you mentioned, Adar, again, which category of diseases will they combat? Will they be mosquito-based?
Yeah, so we've got that, and of course the HPV vaccine, which we've launched in India, and that's to tackle, to prevent cervical cancer in women and young girls. So that's another very, very important, critical vaccine that we've worked for about 8 years. And we finally got licensed, and we're going to give it to the Indian universal program for immunization later this year, and followed by exporting it to other countries also in 26-27.
Right.
So that's a very important one.
Right. The impact of these Trump tariffs, what impact is it going to have in terms of the price of sourcing some of these APIs? What will it do to the health system globally? What will it mean for a Serum Institute which works with so many countries in the world?
Well, the Trump administration is building capabilities in America, and they want people to make everything in America, in the United States. A lot of Indian vaccine manufacturers don't have a lot of products that are sold in the US, so it doesn't really impact us that much. Even in terms of supply chain and raw materials, we've built capabilities to do that in India under Prime Minister Modi ji's vision. So we're very self-reliant now, and thanks to his encouragement and his government's encouragement, Government of India has made it a very good environment for us to build our own capabilities, which we've been doing post-COVID. So, we're in a very good position.
Right. Adar, you've been quite vocal about relaxing price caps to sustain vaccine affordability while managing revenues. Are current government incentives and taxation policies sufficient for this? What additional support or reforms would you suggest? And, if you can tie this in with the upcoming budget.
Well, our industry doesn't want to burden the government with so many priorities that they already have to give any tax incentives or SOPs. But, What we would probably, I think, encourage or request is a dialogue to relax certain price controls that are there on vaccines. You know, today you've got all our industries flourishing, you know, the financial sector, auto sector, IT sector, where, you know, every company is making a few $billion in profits. But, you know, it's unfortunate that the vaccine industry, which is a very critical industry, all the companies, my company included, combined, doesn't even make $1 billion in profits every year. Now, why is this important and relevant? Whilst we want to keep healthcare very affordable, we don't want to have people paying very high prices. We want it reasonable. So what do I mean by that? If reasonable profits are made in this industry, then we can develop and innovate and make our own vaccines and our own molecules and technology. Today, we're still dependent on the partnership model with foreign entities. You know, you saw that in COVID times. You saw it even today with chikungunya. We've partnered with Valneva, very good company abroad. Dengue, similar thing. So, you know, if we have the kind of capital that, you know, pharmaceutical players all over the world have, then, you know, we can further bolster innovation and development in R&D in our country, and the government understands that, and we have to work towards, you know, finding the balance there in the policies to do that. I think if we do that, you'll see even this industry becoming large, like, you know, the IT sector, auto sector, and all of that. And that's really what I would pray and hope for over the next 5-10 years.
Right. Adar, you've also made a big bang entry into the world of entertainment with Dharma Productions, 50% stake. You also are in the NBFC space through Poonawalla FinCorp. What's your priority going to be, and when, you know, what next Dharma Production can we expect from you?
Well, I mean, you know, this was a sort of investment we made out of passion and for films and entertainment. And, you know, the power of storytelling has always had a soft power. And, you know, whether it's to bring certain issues to light or to just make good films to entertain people and divert their minds. You know, I enjoy movies. I don't know about you, but it's a nice way to unwind. And, you know, we also want to build different verticals at Dharma. We want to have our own music label, our own distribution, and various other things. We've got plans on that. You know, and of course, the priority being making some very good films. So, you know, we can talk about that in the next coming few years once we get that underway.
Right. Moneycontrol recently reported about your deal with pharma packaging provider Short Pharma, with whom you have a 50-50 JV.
Yes.
Reports indicate that you are planning to divest 30 to 40% stake in the firm. Will you be using this? You know, why and where will you be using these funds?
Well, you know, we'd made this investment a couple of years ago. We have concluded our deal with TPG. And we're keeping a small stake where, you know, we may encash that later on in an IPO in 2 years' time for this entity. I think, you know, we make a lot of investments in other privately listed companies also.
Yeah.
We've got that in insurance, Wellness Forever, retail chain, My Labs, which is in testing and diagnostics. And every 4 or 5 years, I like to, you know, partly divest or exit, you know, if I were to put my hat on as a private equity investor, so that you can churn your investments and portfolio and look at other things. And, you know, some we take public for an IPO, or some we may merge off or sell off to a strategic, like we had sold Poonawalla Housing to TPG and sold it off as a strategic investment, you know, 2 years ago. And so it's just about churning our portfolio and creating liquidity, because, you know, if you invest everything in privately listed companies and you suddenly want to have some liquidity to transact on something or an opportunity, then I always believe that one should be fairly liquid so that you can do that. So that's the reasoning behind it.
Lastly, Adar, you've been very vocal about this whole 70-hour, 90-hour thing. How many hours a week do you work? And what do you do on Sundays?
Well, I think, you know, it all depends on your entrepreneurial journey. You know, a lot of the young entrepreneurs have to put in a lot of hours. We did that in COVID, for example. I was working till 11 at night. So, you know, it's case to case. I think the messaging was that, you know, there's no substitute to hard work, which is what everyone agrees with. I think you still need time if you're at a senior level to be able to step back, reflect on your decisions, and think about where you want to be and what you want to do. If you want to raise funds, if you want to do so many other things, you need time outside of your day-to-day work. But I totally endorse working hard. We work very hard. We have 8-hour shifts. We work on Saturdays also. But, a human being's productivity is limited. Beyond 7-8 hours, you see a drop in productivity.
Yeah.
So we have multiple shifts. So that's one way of handling a sort of 20-hour operation where you have different shifts taking over. And, different companies, different industries have different models and ways of looking at it. I think those statements were just made in lighter vein. And I think everyone agrees that you have to work hard. There's no substitute for that, but you have to work smart as well. And there are, have a balanced view on it.
Great. Thank you very much for talking to us,
Thank you.
Adar.